Hello everyone and welcome back to the X-Ring. So this video is entitled Everything You Need to Know About PRS, or the Truths About PRS. So first and foremost, I appreciate each and everyone that watches the channel. I appreciate everyone that watched the Altus, the Accuracy International Classic. Guys, that was only my third PRS event. So I get a lot of emails about PRS or related to PRS, about what build, what rifle, what chassis, this, that, and the other. And I just want to go ahead and put it out there that I'm not a PRS competitor. I've learned as I've went along the way, but the AI match was only my third PRS match that I've ever done as far as sanctioned match. You know, the first one was the Hornady PRC about 3 years ago, and then I went to the Gap Grind last year, and then I did the Altus. Now I've gotten better each time, but my equipment's also changed. So for those that might be new to the channel, my background for long range was many, many years ago in the early 90s. And back then we were shooting very rudimentary stuff. There was no Kestrel. We were all shooting 308s. The scope of choice, if you could afford one back then, was a Leupold Mark IV or a Leupold Ultra. And, you know, everything was mil dots with MOA. It's just the way that it was. And so in 2014, I started to get into sniper events. Now, these were vetted sniper events that were not open to the public. You had to be military or law enforcement active in order to do this. And typically, you were going to be shooting groups with people like, you know, SF 3rd Group and 5th Group. They'd have multiple teams. You'd have Canadian Special Forces. You'd have Delta, you know, CAG, you know, British Special Forces. All these guys would bring their sniper teams over. But not on the scale of like the International Sniper Comp. So in 2014, me and my partner, who was another LE guy from a different agency, we actually shot the GSC. We won that, and that was like a $25,000 purse. That's what we split in prizes. You know, actually still have the trophy from that. I'll show you guys this one. And this was the trophy from that. I still have it, and this was probably the biggest event of my life because of, you know, we had no idea there was this type of money and prizes and stuff involved with that. The way they do that is every single stage that you do, you can trophy on it for points. And I think we won 6 or we won like 5. We trophied on all of them. We podied on all of them, but I think we won like 2 or 3 of those. I mean, it was crazy. And so each one of those was a separate prize table. So it was just incredible. In 2015, I think it was, we shot another one that this had been won by the same group of people for like the last 8-10 years, something like that. And so we took their cup away from them, and then I got a silver medal. It was a LE Olympics, Police Olympics type event. And so this was actually the setup that I was using. I'm going to go show you this up close. But, you know, back in the day, there was no MDT or any of that other stuff. You know, we were using McCree chassis. Otherwise, you had to use something like a Macmillan or something like that. And so the reason I'm sharing all this with you is that was my background, which that is completely different than PRS. You know, we were shooting these 308s, and while it has its place, you couldn't pay me to shoot a 308 anymore. You know, just the bullets are just so much better now, especially with the 6.5s and the 6 Creeds and everything else. Just ballistically, they're superior. So the game has changed. You know, those events that, you know, incorporates things like stalking and milling and, you know, dead electronic stage. PRS is a completely different animal. Everything is unknown. You're given your stage, you're given the amount of time, you're given your targets. Yeah, you might have a mover thrown in here and there, but all in all the information you need is there for you. And so one of the biggest things I can recommend to you guys, anybody that's asking me about calibers or anything like that, is the guys over at Area 419, Craig Arnson. He did an interview with Colin Francis, and Chad Heckler. And you need to watch that, because one of the worst things that I didn't realize was chasing that velocity. The very first Hornady PRC, I shot a 6.5 Creedmoor. My bullets were going like 3180 or something like that. I mean, I barely made it under that 3,200 feet per second. And when I talked to some pro guys on my squad, they were like, "Why are you shooting that fast?" Well, it's because I didn't know any better. You know, I thought faster was better, less hold on the plates and all that. But the downside of that is your bullet is getting there so much faster, you don't have a clue where you actually hit on that plate. Did you hit on the left side? Did you hit on the right side? You know, I think he even mentions that, like on a 400-yard shot, you don't even have time to recover and it's already hit it. And so, you know, PRS isn't all about these 1,500-yard shots. Most of your engagements are going to be, you know, 400 to 700 yards, and they'll go out further, of course, but, you know, they're smaller targets. So when it comes to all-around versatility, I think it's going to be hard to beat a 6.5 Creedmoor to do everything. It allows you to hunt, it allows you to shoot NRL hunter matches, it allows you to shoot PRS. You know, I think even Morgan King had been shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor. I think he still does to this day. You know, and a 6 Creedmoor. But what I know is everybody's slowed their bullets down. You don't chase the velocity. You need to give yourself time to spot that trace, to spot that impact, to know exactly where you hit on that plate. So when you get a rifle done, you know, an Accuracy International like this ATX here, this is a great platform. I don't have an optic on it right now, and guys, I've played around with the 6BRs. I've got a barrel for that. I've got a dasher, and you know, those are great cartridges, little short cartridges that have a really short recoil. You're back on target, and it's good. But I think that magic number is 2,800 to 2,850 feet per second. You know, you got the GTs, the XCs, all these number 6s, but you're dealing with that little short cartridge. So now you're going to have to run inserts in your mag or things like that where you can have feed issues, which is what I had with the AI with some of those fit kits, even though the HRDs ran pretty well for this. So for those that email me about questions, I think it really depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're wanting a versatile rifle to be able to hunt with, do some light competition, then it might work to do something like that, or have a custom gun made or something that's off the shelf like a production type rifle. But if you're really going to start chasing points and really try to get into the PRS game and start doing long range shooting, I would definitely look at something that's purpose built. You want something with a heavier barrel. You want a rifle that's going to be, what I've seen at the matches anyway, something between 18 to about 21 pounds. Some guys run a lot heavier, but that seems to be about the average. You want a chassis that fits you really, really well. I'm not going to get into the whole foundation versus chassis, you know, doing a, you know, conventional stock. I just like the configurability of a chassis because I can really adjust everything on it. As far as dampening and all that, that's entirely up to you. If you need a conventional like a Macmillan or a, you know, a Manners or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that, and they have a really, really good look. It just, they don't fit me as well, I guess, would be the best answer. The other thing you're going to see is you're going to see much heavier barrel contours. You know, an MTU used to be really thick. That's not thick anymore, okay? You know, a 120 or a 125 straight, that's what you're seeing to get that balance, and so you don't get any movement when you're firing that rifle. Most of the guys are running really light triggers, somewhere around in under the pound to a pound and a half range. You're going to run some type of brake, you know, and you can do the brake thing to death, whether you're looking at an MPA or Fat Bastard or, you know, the Strike Without Warning. They're all great, but what works with your platform? Now, as far as caliber, I've settled in on 6 Creedmoor. And the reason is I can shoot a full-length cartridge. I'm not going to have any feed issues. I'm not having to run any mag inserts. And, you know, with that being said, I'm not running a 6 Creedmoor SAMI spec chamber. I'm running the 6 Creedmoor with the 105 free bore. You know, a SAMI standard chamber is going to be running somewhere around 184 on your free bore, and you can't run out a 105 burger that far. So if I can take that same bullet that, let's say, a 6BR or something else is shooting, and I can slow that down, especially with like a Varget load shooting, you know, 34, 35 grain, somewhere in there. Now, don't take that for gospel, guys. You need to build it up on your own. But I can get 2,850 feet per second pretty easily. And I'm going to show you the rifle that I'm using. And that would be this one right here. Now, this was built by Desert Precision Gunworks. This is the most accurate, most precise rifle I've ever owned in my entire life. I'm going to show you some of these groups up here. This is standard of what this thing will do. It will always shoot point ones, whether it's a 3-shot group or a 5-shot group, point ones to point twos, with the biggest being, I think the biggest group I've ever shot with this has been a .25, and that's with that 105 Burger hybrid. The barrel is 26 inches long. I do have an MPA 6.5 Creedmoor brake because it's just what I had. I do have the Masterpiece Arms, the Matrix Pro, and I'm not running any weights in it whatsoever. I probably want to put some weights in it to kind of balance out a little bit better. The bipod of choice is going to be the Thunder Beast Arms 90% of the time, and then I'll have a Sky double pull. That will give you the option of being able to maybe get a point here or there just because of what you can do with that Sky pod. As far as optics, guys, I've really settled in on the Zeiss S3. It has become my all-time favorite scope. Price point, is one, $2,500. Clarity, the coating of the lenses, everything's laid out the way I want to see it. The revolutions, you know, just I can see the numbers, the turns and all that are great. It comes with the throw lever, and this isn't a sales pitch for them. I'm just telling you what I'm gravitating towards, because I have been shooting tangents even at the Altus match when I shot the Falcor. Now the reason I shot the Falcor is because that was an agreement. I told them I would review it, and those guys were super, super great to me. You know, Dustin and those guys at Falcor, they loaned me the rifle. I agreed I would shoot a match with it, shot a match with it. I was excited about it. It shot great, but then it went back to them. I wasn't paid or anything like that. I don't do reviews for payment. Just don't. It's not what I do, and that's why I don't ask you guys on Patreon. I might do Patreon in the future, but right now I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. It does have a Koger arms action. This is not a really expensive action. You know, it's not like a Defiance or anything like that. It's made in Georgia. It works well. It's very smooth. I have no feed issues with it whatsoever. I'm just running an LRA on the side with some Zeiss rings and a Trigger Tech trigger. And the thing is this rifle shoots nothing like those other ones. Those other ones have a different purpose. Not saying that the top level guys couldn't take one of these and smoke me with it. They probably could for sure. But if you're going to get into PRS, build a rifle that suits your needs. You want something that's very soft shooting. You want to keep your bullet somewhere around 2800 to 2850 and use the equipment that works well for you. Now, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks out there, especially on that Altus video, and they were sitting there saying, well, it looks like you're struggling moving that rifle. Well, yeah, well, when you have a 20-pound rifle with a plate on it, with a, you know, now my bag doesn't weigh a normal bag weight. I actually have that glass filled, so that bag is a little over 4 pounds. So now you're looking at about 25 pounds. And with PRS, you should never be hurried or rushed. If you're doing it or doing that, you're probably doing it wrong, because you know how much time you have. Everything is very methodical. You're not trying to upset the rifle. Some guys commented on that about John Kreiderman, about him working the bolt too hard. And in fairness, I did not disclose to you guys that that had a 105 free bore as well. John had factory ammunition, and factory ammunition with a 105 free bore, it's very tough to close the bolt. We didn't know this until we got there. You know, John was like, man, why is this thing so hard to close? And I was like, oh crud, that one's got a 105 free bore. So you shouldn't, I mean, you're not going to win a match by working your bolt quickly. It's staying on target, working it smoothly, keeping everything in the reticle, being able to spot that shot the entire way. I know this is a lot of information. It was a lot of talking, but I think it's, you know, considered it a podcast. These are some things that I've learned about shooting PRS. I will still shoot a couple of events here and there, and I enjoy it, but it is completely different than doing something like a ruck match. I would never choose this for a ruck match, although some guys could. I wouldn't want to be lugging around a 20-pound rifle over a 30-mile course, like something you would do at Vortex, or, you know, even Burris Extreme, where you're doing a lot of speed. I don't want a rifle this heavy. It's I'm not in the shape for that. I know some of you guys are, but you know, that's where this gray hair comes from. I'm 52 years old. I'm in decent shape, but I don't try to carry more than I really need to. I'll start blowing out knees and ankles and everything else like that. So hopefully this video helps a few of you, and hopefully it kind of explains that world of PRS. It's a great group of guys. I had a really bad misconception of what PRS was in the day. Now, that being said, there are some guys that are there for the points, and they're there for one reason. And, you know, let those guys do their thing, get their points. They're not there to chit-chat or anything else, but even so, they're very, very helpful group of guys. All in all, remember, we're just trying to be ambassadors for the sport. We're trying to promote shooting so that we still see it, and I'll still never forget that very first time I went to the Hornady PRC, and I was like, man, these are some real shooters. They were doing, you know, making first-round impacts on targets that I was like, holy crud, man, back in the day, or even now, you know, I might have to take 5 shots to hit something like that. You know, first target was like 1,375 yards. I was like, good gosh. So it is crazy, but that's a small portion of what you might do in a PRS event. So hopefully this helps you guys, and hopefully it gets some insight into what PRS is and the truth about PRS. And I hope you guys have fun with it. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. We'll see you. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to compare these two rifles here, and these are both beautiful rifles. The bottom one is built by Desert Precision Gun Works. This is going to be shooting the 105 Burger. It has a 105 free bore in it. And we're going to check out the recoil. These rifles are within about half a pound of each other. This one has the Manners stock. It's in a Defiance action. It's in 6 Creedmoor. This is actually built by Manhole Customs. Barrel contour is a little bit less, but he does have, I think that's a Harrell's brake on there, and it is outfitted with a Tangent Theta, although this is one of them MOA scopes, MOA. So what I'm going to do is I want you guys to see the difference in recoil, if any, and we're going to shoot this one from Manhole Customs with prime 6mm Creedmoor. And while you could shoot a match, I want to see if there's a difference in the recoil between that and the 105. So this is Jamie with Manhole Customs. He's actually a custom gun builder, a good friend of mine, but he's never done PRS matches. But this is a rifle that's one of his. I'm going to have him shoot them side by side. Jamie, have you ever done any positional shooting at all?
Just rimfire.
Just rimfire stuff. All right, well, go ahead and 2 rounds. I did have to hold 7 o'clock on that rifle.
Okay.
At the 600-yard plate, he's going to go ahead and load 2 rounds, and then that'll give me the ability to move around with the camera. Just go ahead and just see what you notice, shooting yours first. And you know where the 600-yard targets are at.
Yes.
And I'm going to get a little closer to this angle so you guys can see it. But you guys will be getting 100% raw data.
All right, ready?
Yep. All right, so he's going to go 600. He's got to hold 7 o'clock just because of the wind and the elevation. Okay, that's an impact. And I'm going to get right here so we can get this angle. And impact. So what we're going to do is switch him over to the other one with the 105 and see if he notices any different. We're going to get his take. All right, so now we've got Jamie on this one that's a little more PRS built, if you will, or tailored towards that. And the first thing I want Jamie to do is just place it up on the barricade and see if it seems to balance better or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just check it out. Let's see what the recoil looks like. He's never shot this rifle in his life. Trigger's about the same as yours.
Okay. Got more wind. Ready?
Yep. Just favor maybe 1 inch left of center. Elevation's perfect. Impact.
Definitely a difference in recoil. I've seen the whole flight.
Impact. So Jamie, honest, I mean, I know you built the other gun. I know you know Kenny, and Kenny built this gun. Do you notice a difference with that hand load?
Absolutely.
What is the difference? I mean, convey that to the viewers here.
Well, the muzzle brake definitely works better on the recoil, and the accuracy, I never lost sight picture of it.
And that's the key, guys.
Yes.
Being able to keep that in your view the whole time. That way, if you do miss, you never miss that impact. I'm not saying this rifle's better. I'm just saying if you're building a rifle specifically for PRS, then build what you need for the game. So like on Jamie's build over there, just like he said, I'd probably go with a different brake. But remember, you're not going to be able to run that 105 with that freeboard because the jump would be too big. So these are things you need to think about if you're trying to get into the PRS game and chase points. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.